Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be on this planet of ours. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. As we've been doing for quite some time, we're going to start off and do the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States, and then we will sing the national anthem. Would everybody at this time please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Oh yeah! Come on, folks, let them know it.
America's finest. America's finest. The United States Army Barbershop Quartet performing at the Barbershop Quartet Convention in 2015. The hosts of the Barbershop Quartet Convention gave us the Pledge of Allegiance. The Barbershop Quartet from the United States Army gave us that beautiful national anthem. We want to thank them for their service and thank them for doing that for all of us. Folks, we have a lot to talk about tonight, but I first want to thank our military and our allied military for all their service to their countries and to the world, helping us keep peace within the world. God bless you all. May you all return home to your families in safety when your tours of duty end. And thank you again for your service. We definitely appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Folks, as we have said, we have a lot to talk about. I mulled over what we want to talk about literally all day. I want to cover a lot of ground here, so if you will, we have an echo. Okay, how about now? I don't think we should have an echo now. I have no idea how that happened, but I think we don't have an echo now. We do have an echo now. Demon Cat says 5x5. Vicky K says okay. 100% no, not now. I have no idea how that happened. I spent about 3 hours earlier today figuring out what had happened, and I had to literally take my broadcast software completely down, reinstall all the defaults, and then reinstall all the pictures that I show you and our video that we show you and everything. So hopefully that won't happen again. I hope. Doggone it all. Raymond Roy is here in the chat saying, Ron, I missed your show yesterday. I might save a life from Kelowna. She was in the chat from another stream. She was scared. She did not know what to do. I told her to leave now and take nothing with you more. That is good information. Folks, if you have a wildfire literally in front of you and you don't have time to even pick anything else up, get your children, get your animals, and whatever food that you can possibly get within a second or two. Put it in your car and get out of Dodge. It's not worth your life or your family's life to stick around and piddle-dick around. This is exactly why I tell everyone to be prepared. This is exactly why we tell everybody to be prepared. Folks, during this past weekend, and in fact, it started before that, during the past few weeks, we've had a lot of wildfires that have occurred. The wildfires were burning in Oregon, Washington, and Canada. Literally. They were burning acreage. Thousands of structures in Canada have burned to the ground. A lot of land has burnt to the ground as well. Standing tall, long pole pines and other bushes and ground cover have burned completely up. The land face is scarred in black. This is one of the worst fire seasons we could even think about. Tomorrow night, I'm hoping to show you more burned areas. On NASA Firm's webpage, we've used some parts of NASA Firm's before. I want to tell you, it is not good. Africa, almost 50% of Africa, I would probably say 40% of Africa is either on fire or has burned. South America, at least 1/3, maybe more, has also burned in South America. It's not good. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of acres in northern Australia that have burned. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of acres in China that have burned, and in Russia as well, and literally all over Europe. This year's wildfires are bad. They are very bad. And tomorrow night, I hope to show you more information about that. We also have some undersea mounts, undersea volcanoes that are erupting underneath the ground, underneath the water. I should say not underneath the ground, but underneath the water. We have hot spots up and down the East Coast, from Newfoundland down south to Florida, undersea mounts. We have undersea mounts off the west coast of North America, Canada, and the mainland United States. Undersea mounts, volcanoes erupting presently. We have hot spots everywhere. We have hot spots off of Hawaii. We have hot spots over in the western Pacific as well. It is bad. Okay? We've always talked about volcanoes erupting, and we've talked about volcanoes going to erupt on land. Okay? Tonight I'm not going to talk too much about what's going on in the Pacific Northwest. I know there's fires there. We have a lot of wildfires going on. And I'm praying for everybody. We should always be praying for those that risk losing their lives, their families, and everything that they have built throughout their years. A lot of people have. God bless them all. We have Donna Howard here in the chat. She's been a friend of mine, and she's been a friend of the program for quite a while. We have her in the chat tonight. Demon Catman is here. May Edwards is here. Dee Dee's here. We have Raymond Roy here. The one whom Jesus loved is here. We have a great many people. Richard Smith from Nova Scotia is here. Cassandra Goss is here. Sweet Polly Purebred is here. Virginia Ortega is here. Jen Shannon is here. Wild Horses, Janika Johnson. Vicky K is here. Jamie Wilk is here. I appreciate her. Renee Steffi is here. Kennethful Warrior is here. We had Juanito here. He was one of the first people into this channel tonight. We appreciate that. Cowboy Roy Rogers is here. Folks, we have a great many people. A lot of our family is here, and we appreciate you all for being here tonight. Folks, please share this program with everybody. Tonight's program will be full of information that you need to pass on. Please pass it on. There's a lot of people here that need to pass on this information because it's going to affect you, it's going to affect your families, and it's going to affect your friends and neighbors around you. Everybody. So please pass this on. Garden Spices is here. Missouri Boat Ride is here. We appreciate each and every one of you here. Now, like I said, I have spent a great deal of time today deciding what we were going to share with you because a lot has happened. The first thing I want to show you is in regards to what used to be Hurricane Hillery. When it hit the United States of America in San Diego, it had been downgraded to Tropical Storm Hillery. Folks, this is Chino, California today. Look at the water flooding Chino. Down in Los Angeles, it's not as bad, but some parts of LA are. This is Chino. This is Dodger Stadium parking lot. Look at the flooding here. The outfield of Dodger Stadium is swampy. The outfield of Dodger Stadium is swampy because of the heavy rains that hit the Los Angeles area and outlying areas last night into early this morning. My stepdaughter is in Los Angeles, stuck there until Wednesday because Delta flights are not going to be leaving LAX until at least Wednesday this week. The upper atmosphere winds are dangerous. That's why they are not flying anywhere. And I have a feeling that United, Southwest, Alaska, and all the other airlines are also not lifting off today. If United and Delta aren't, I don't think anybody else is either. Los Angeles is a real mess. I can play videos for you of the huge canal system all over Los Angeles. The canal system is there because of flooding in the past. During the drought seasons that we had in Southern California, those canal areas were dry. They had probably 20 feet of water in them as of this morning. and they were rushing like a river. The Los Angeles River was flooding. It was incredible. The amount of water going through the canals and the river systems in Los Angeles is wild. I actually haven't seen that kind of activity in a very long time in Los Angeles. And I used to go up to Los Angeles frequently when I lived in San Diego. I lived in San Diego 28 years. I saw just about everything during that 20-year time period. It was quite a sight. Now, we went from hurricane to earthquake yesterday in Southern California. As this picture indicates, the hurricane isn't working? Send in the earthquake. And yes, they did send in the earthquake. A 5.5 magnitude earthquake hit in Ojai, California, east of Santa Barbara, California, yesterday about 2:30 p.m. It was at least a 5.5 magnitude earthquake that USGS downgraded to, get this guys, they downgraded it to a 5.1. What figures? What gives? Why do you think that they would downgrade it to a 5.1? I bet you know. Oh, I really know you know. There's no betting about it. When I saw 5.1 come out, I was flabbergasted. Our dear friend and brother Sage Pup called me right after it hit. His friends and his watch and his friend's watch showed it to be a 6.5. Yeah, a 6.5 earthquake. A cotton-picking 6.5 earthquake. We believe it was at least a 5.5. I want to show you something. Okay, this is just part of the aftershocks that hit here from the time that that 5.5 hit Ojai, California until today. Over 100 earthquakes. Over 100 earthquakes have hit this area. How is that possible? How is it possible that over 100 earthquakes could hit here? Unreal. We have 10 plus here. We have 220 plus here. And we have a 50 plus. Over 100 plus earthquakes hit Ojai between yesterday afternoon and now. That's the most earthquakes that we've seen in this area in a very long time. And I don't think it will be our last. I knew that this was going to happen. I knew that this seismic energy was going to come up from the south. I honestly believed that this may hit in San Diego, and it still could. It shows just north of Los Angeles. My stepdaughter that's down there, Katie, reported them feeling the earthquake yesterday afternoon when they were at a concert. The band stopped playing and evacuated the stage. People stood there and they felt very awkward standing there because the ground was shaking under their feet. In Los Angeles at the convention center, The band left the stage, and people stood there wondering, oh my gosh, what's going on? This was felt all over the Los Angeles area. Some places said that they didn't feel it. It was felt all over the Los Angeles area and out into the desert areas of California as well. This was a big deal. I have two helioplots to show you tonight. Two heliplots to show you. The first one is this one here in Bozeman, Montana. It doesn't show us a lot. It shows this to be at least a 5.0 here. But more importantly, let me enlarge this to show you what it shows here. Okay? You can see the seismic activity ramp up to this earthquake last night, yesterday afternoon, I should say. Then after it hit, there was a short secondary wave, and then there was a body wave that went out. And if you can look down here to 6 a.m. today, this is UTC. 6 a.m. UTC. That is the final line where we've seen shaking. The earth shook for 9 minutes. The earth shook for 9 minutes. I'm sorry, not 9 minutes, 9 hours. The earth shook for 9 hours. Each line here is 1 hour apiece. The earth shook for 9 hours. This was at least a 5.5 earthquake. This was not a 5.1. It came out as a 5.08, 5.1 earthquake. As Sage Pup said, he and his friend's watch, who he was with, showed a 6.5 warning alert on their watches. Then it hit. They felt it over there in Santa Barbara where Sage Pup lives. It's unreal. Joachim Romer says, so was it the water weight that opened the fault? No, it wasn't. I do not believe it had anything to do with the water weight of what Tropical Storm Hillery left there. This was seismic energy that's been building up for quite some time. And seismic energy that came down, or excuse me, not down, it came up from Mexico and hit this area in Ojai, California. And I believe that there's a lot more energy than this that's going to hit. Let me show you another heliplot that I found. This one comes from Idaho, a lot closer than Bozeman, Montana. This shows a lot more shaking than the other one does. It shows better the buildup of the seismic energy as well. And it shows more intimately the secondary wave and the corresponding body wave after the earthquake. And again, it shows 9 hours of shaking going on. 9 hours of shaking going on. So again, this was at least a 5.5 earthquake. It could not have been anything less than that. You can see it here. The whole place is shaking, guys. Southern California is shaking. All over. I've shown you what happened with Hurricane Hillery. We showed you Cabo San Lucas yesterday morning. Actually, some of you it was yesterday morning, and then it turned quickly into the afternoon. That was my second broadcast. My first was Sunday school yesterday. Then we came on the air the second time to talk to you about Hillery. The third time we came on the air was after the 5.5 earthquake hit. And we talked extensively about that earthquake in Ojai, California. And folks, like I said, I do not believe it is the only earthquake, only large earthquake that we are going to see in California. There's a lot more to see. Folks, I think what I want to do now is I want to go over and take a look at the USGS map. We're going to review that, and then we're going to talk about Maui. There's a lot going on over in Hawaii that I believe we need to address. Let me bring this map up here so we can see what's going on here. Okay? I'm going to go over here to the southwestern Pacific first. Okay? Over here in southeast Indonesia, Ruteng, Indonesia. This is a 5.2 earthquake. It's also a very deep earthquake, 317 miles deep. 317 miles deep. 5.2. Folks, this is a large earthquake, similar to what we had hit in Ojai, California. A deep earthquake. Folks, this is serious. This 5.2 over here in southeastern Indonesia is going to cause at least a 6.3 to a 6.5 earthquake within the next 72 hours to 10 days. It's going to cause a very strong earthquake, either in this area, west of that, over into Myanmar area, anywhere in Indonesia, in Papua New Guinea, Australia, and possibly even in New Zealand. This is going to cause a very strong earthquake. You see that red dot? That is a brand new quake that just hit. This, folks, is a moderate earthquake, 4.6. United States Geological Survey and Earthquake Tracker and the other agencies are now calling these moderate earthquakes light, L-I-T-E. They are not light. Don't let these agencies misdirect you. These are strong earthquakes. Moderate earthquakes cause moderate damage. Moderate earthquakes cause moderate damage. This is only 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles deep, supposedly. Okay? That's very shallow. That's what I would have expected at that 5.6 we just looked at over in southeastern Indonesia. This earthquake that I just highlighted here, this is Fakfak, Indonesia. F-A-K, Indonesia. It's a 4.6 as well. This is 14.2 miles deep. About 13 miles deep. We go north. This is where I want you to understand exactly what's happening. See this earthquake fault? It runs from down here in Indonesia, running over into Mindanao Island, Philippines. This one down south is in Tobelo, Indonesia. This also is a 4.6, 146 miles deep. This is down in the asthenosphere, guys. The same way that other 5.6 down there in Indonesia was. In the asthenosphere, in the magma area of the Earth. This is in the asthenosphere. This is going to cause at least a 5.3 earthquake. At least a 5.3 earthquake. Going between depth to magnitude. A 5.3 earthquake. Then we go north here, along the same earthquake fault. Okay? This is Pondagitan, Philippines. Pondagitan, Philippines. This is a little bit larger earthquake. It's a 4.8. 92 miles deep. This is also down in the asthenosphere. Now someone might ask, Ron, how far do we have to go down to reach the asthenosphere? Folks, the crust of the earth that we walk on, the dirt and gravel and rock that we walk on, is anywhere from it's anywhere from 39 miles deep to 69 miles deep. This, folks, is 92 miles deep down in the plastic magma. Okay? This is not hugely deep, but it's semi-deep. Okay? A 4.8 earthquake. That could cause possibly a 5.0. This earthquake here, 92 miles deep, 4.8. Let me enlarge this so you can see it. See this earthquake down here in Tobelo, Indonesia, we just talked about? It was off the coast. It was off the coast. We talked about this earthquake here near Pondagitan, Philippines. It's 122 miles southeast of Pondagitan, Philippines. It's out here in the water. When it's this far out in the water, nobody probably even felt these earthquakes. Number one, they're moderate earthquakes. Number two, they're out in the water, and the water absorbs the shock waves of the earthquake. We go further up here. Again, it's on the same earthquake fault here. This is just barely south of Mindanao Island, Philippines. This is 21 miles southeast of a town called Tamasan, Philippines. Tamasan, Philippines, right here. Okay? This is a 4.6. Nobody felt this earthquake either, because the seismic waves were absorbed by the ocean, the water. This was 51 miles deep. So this may be down in the asthenosphere. But if this is where the thickness of the crust is, it's not quite into the asthenosphere yet. It could be, but maybe not. Okay? But look where these earthquakes are located, along that earthquake fault. It's nearly a straight line. It's nearly a straight line. We don't often get earthquakes in a straight line like this. Rarely ever happens. Now, you don't see too many earthquakes here in the southwestern Pacific. That's because the agency doesn't want anybody to know it. They don't want anybody to figure out how deep these earthquakes are, number one, and they don't want anybody to figure out where these earthquakes are. They're definitely down here, and they're definitely happening. But again, the agencies do not want us to know that. So the USGS doesn't show it, do they? Heaven forbid they tell us the truth. Look at the truth, guys. This is what's really happening down there in Indonesia today. This is what's really happening. Down in Indonesia. In Indonesia, look at that. Look at all those quakes. And folks, there's that 5.3 in the Flores Sea. There is a 5.3 earthquake down there in the Flores Sea. Okay? Earthquakes all over the Philippines and Indonesia. All over. Why don't they want people to know what's going on? Because people might move out of that area. In Indonesia, that's hard. Those people in Indonesia have no money. Most of them don't have the wherewithal to move anywhere. So they're just stuck. A while back, I had a lady that lived down there in Indonesia. And she said, Ron, why do we have so many earthquakes over here in Indonesia? Why is this happening? My simple answer is because you are in one of the biggest subduction zones on Earth. 7 different plates down here in the southwestern Pacific. 7 different plates here. They're all subducting. One plate under the other. That is why this area is getting hit with so many earthquakes. That's why. That also includes all these earthquakes up into the Philippines and all the way up to Taiwan. Indonesia, the Philippines, all the way up into Taiwan and over into Myanmar. All the way over here to Myanmar. 7 different tectonic plates, one subducting under the other. We get a lot of earthquakes here, a lot of very damaging earthquakes. Yes, a 5.0, 5.9 is considered a large earthquake. 4.0 to 4.9 used to be a moderate earthquake. The agency is now telling us, oh, they're light earthquakes. Light earthquakes causing a lot of damage, huh? That's interesting. And then we go right to a large 5.0 that they're now calling a moderate earthquake. Folks, anywhere between a 5.0, and a 5.9. Maybe I should put it this way. Anywhere in there can cause major damage. How can they even think about calling an earthquake a moderate quake that will cause substantial damage? A 5.6 can cause enormous damage depending on where it's at. It causes a lot of damage otherwise. Now, between a 5.0 and a 5.5, the 5.5 is the middle point. Anything above 5.5 to 5.9, that's a very dangerous earthquake. 5.5s to 5.9s can cause serious damage and injury and even kill people. And they're trying to pass it off as a moderate quake. That don't jive, brother. It don't jive. A 6.0, they're saying, is a very strong earthquake. That I can believe in. 6.0, 6.9, very strong earthquake. A 7.0 to 10.0, those earthquakes are called major earthquake. Major earthquakes. Those can cause dangerous damage and kill thousands of people. They can kill thousands of people, and they usually do. Look what happened over there in Turkey. USGS tried to pan it off as less of a quake than it was. But why are they still having 100 earthquakes a day there? Months and months later. That was a very dangerous quake. It was a major earthquake. It was not a 7.8. It was not a 6.8. It was an 8.0 to 9.0 earthquake. That's what it really was. And they're still getting large earthquakes hitting there as of even yesterday with a 5.6 in Turkey. Noble Frog just gave us a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. God bless you for that. We appreciate any and all contributions that any of you make here in the super chat or to our PayPal or our Venmo locations, and you can see those down in our program description below this video today. We appreciate any and all donations that you give us. We have people sending us donations in the middle of letters or cards that they write. We appreciate that. God bless all of you who donate to support this cause. Every nickel and dime is worth it to us. It really is. It means the world to us. Our electric bill just doubled from what it was last month. Doubled. I just got the electric bill today. It has doubled. Our internet bill has nearly doubled. I have to have high-speed internet here, bandwidth, to do these programs for all of you. The internet bill has nearly doubled. So utility bills have gone out of sight during the last 2 months. It's unreal. I'm just sharing, I'm sorry. Anyway, getting back to these earthquakes. It's one thing what they show us here, but it's an entirely different thing when we look at the other places we have earthquakes at. We talked about earthquakes over here in the islands. Okay? We talked about this large earthquake over here. This 5.3. Okay? USGS calls it a 5.2. EMSC, the European agency, is calling it a 5.3. I believe the EMSC. Okay? We told you that that earthquake right there, a deep, large earthquake, is going to propagate a larger earthquake. That earthquake could be somewhere here in Indonesia. Could be over here in Sumatra or Myanmar. Okay? Myanmar had a 4.5 today. This was 50 miles deep. Again, this could also be down in the asthenosphere. Okay? I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the name of that town. It starts off Y-E-N-A-N-G-Y-A-U-N-G. Myanmar. A 4.5 moderate quake there. Okay? And a lot of other quakes here as well. But that 5.3 there in Indonesia could spread over here to Myanmar. It could spread over here to Papua New Guinea as well. It could go over here into the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, or even over here into Fiji or Tonga. Today, right here, this is Huanga Tonga. H-O-U-M-A Tonga. Huamatonga. This is a 4.3 moderate earthquake. This is also a deep earthquake, 312 miles deep. That's pretty darn deep. This earthquake, this 4.3, could, and I'm saying could, propagate a 5.2, 5.3 earthquake, a large earthquake, within the next 72 hours to 10 days. Right next to it, a 4.3. This is also a very deep earthquake, 340 miles deep. 340 miles deep. Now, folks, that's a deep earthquake. This could also propagate a 5.5 to 5.6 magnitude earthquake as a result of this deep earthquake today. That could be a very damaging earthquake here in Tonga, or Fiji, or even down into New Zealand. Now, if it goes down into the Kermadec Islands, north of New Zealand, the Kermadec Islands, folks, are a bird sanctuary. Nobody lives in those island areas. Nobody lives in the Kermadec Islands. One, it's too dangerous. Boats cannot even get there except during high tide. If they try to get there during low tide, guess what? They get dashed up against the rocks. So nobody can even get into this area at low tide. It's very dangerous. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. This is a 4.3. Like I said, this is going to propagate at least a 5.4 to 5.5 magnitude earthquake in the next 72 hours to 10 days. So we're going to see those earthquakes happening as well. Over here, this is south of the Fiji Islands. Folks, this is also a deep quake. This one is a 4.9, 5.0 earthquake. What's going to happen here? Folks, this large earthquake is going to propagate at least a 6.1 to a 6.2 very strong earthquake. That also is going to hit within the next 72 to 48 hours. I'm not saying 48 hours, 72 hours to 10 days. 72 hours to 10 days. Okay? So we're going to see another 6 here as a result of seismic energy today. That's interesting. So now we've talked to you about earthquakes down here in the South Pacific. Over in South America, they were so generous. They were so generous to give us these earthquakes today. They're showing us 2 earthquakes in South America. How generous is that? Folks, there are over 20 earthquakes here in South America today. They're showing us one here in south central Argentina at the border area of Chile. This is a 4.2 moderate quake. Border area of Chile and Argentina. This is 119 miles deep down in the asthenosphere. It's not hugely deep, but it's still a deep earthquake. A 4.2 earthquake. This could cause a 4.6, 4.8 earthquake as a result of this 4.2 today. We go north here. Folks, this is a 5.5 large earthquake, a mid-range 5 up here in Ecuador. Yesterday we had one in southern Ecuador near the Peruvian border. That was a 5.3. This is an even stronger quake, a 5.5 here. Machala, Ecuador. Machala, Ecuador. A 5.5 large earthquake. This, folks, is a fairly shallow quake, 37 miles deep. This one is down in the crust. This is down in the crust. Okay? Now, they're not showing any earthquakes here in South America. Let me zoom in here to Central and South Africa. See that dark green area in Central Africa? If you go east there, take all that area that is dark green all the way to the right to the eastern part of Africa and take it all the way down south. If we're looking at this, guys, and I guarantee it's right, I spent several hours looking at it, folks, that is roughly the equivalent area that is presently burning in Africa, South and Central Africa. Unreal. Unreal. USGS not showing anything. Nothing. Over here, this is southwestern Turkey. This is a 4.3 earthquake in southwestern Turkey. 6 miles southwest from Izmir, Turkey. This is 45 miles deep, probably just down in our crust. Okay? What they're not showing is all the other earthquakes in this general area west of Turkey. These are called the Dokanese Islands. The Dokanese Islands, folks, have a lot of earthquakes here. A lot of earthquakes here in the islands here. This is in the eastern Mediterranean Ocean. There are also some undersea volcanoes here, seamounts. There are also other earthquakes over here near Crete. There's other earthquakes all over Greece here. Probably totaling to about 35 earthquakes just here in Greece alone. Just here in Greece alone. Now, what do you think is happening over here in eastern Greece and Syria? 100 earthquakes that they're not talking about. 100 earthquakes that they're not talking about. Why not? Why not? They're showing 2 earthquakes over here on the western side of Iran and Iraq. This is Tajikistan. This earthquake I highlighted here is a 4.1 in Tajikistan. This is 75 miles deep. This is down in the asthenosphere, in the plastic magma area. Okay? A semi-deep earthquake. This is a 4.5 in Afghanistan. This is 111 miles deep, down in the asthenosphere here. A 4.5 magnitude quake in Afghanistan and a 4.1 in Tajikistan. There are a lot of other earthquakes over here in Iran and Iraq. It's too bad that they don't tell us about it. There's some earthquakes over here in Sudan and Saudi Arabia that they're not telling us about. I told you about earthquakes over here in Greece that they're not telling us about. We have about 25 earthquakes over here in Italy and Sicily. They're not telling us about earthquakes in Romania and Croatia here that they're not telling us about. Earthquakes over here in the Alps, the Italian Alps, the German Alps, the Swiss Alps, and also the French Alps that they're not telling us about. We even have some earthquakes here in France, earthquakes here in Spain, earthquakes right here, just east of the Strait of Gibraltar. Look at all this landmass underwater here east of the Strait of Gibraltar. See that red earthquake fault coming out of Morocco, out of northern Africa? It goes out here in the water just east of the Strait of Gibraltar. There's about 12 earthquakes right here, but they're not showing us. In the Azores, there are a few earthquakes here in the Azores and down in the Canary Islands today. There's another picture I want to show you here in the Canary Islands in just a second. This island here in the center of your screen is Tenerife. Tenerife is on fire. Tenerife is on fire, guys. A pretty bad fire. Let me show you what's going on in Tenerife. Okay? Spanish Canary Islands of Tenerife. Look at this. They have actually had to evacuate people from here in the Canary Islands during the past 72 hours. Very bad fires. Homes and buildings burning to the ground down here in Tenerife, Canary Islands. It's very bad. It's very, very bad down here. And it's not over. This is hard to talk about. It's very hard to talk about because folks are risking their lives. They're risking their lives that they might not have anything to come back to. Some people here in Tenerife have a lot of money because of the tourist industry. Some of them don't. We have earthquakes over here in Iceland. About a total of 20 earthquakes here. 10 or 12 of them are over here near the volcanoes that are erupting. The others are on the northern side of Iceland. Notice that long red line down there that cuts Iceland in half. That is the center of the North Atlantic Plate. That's the North Mid-Atlantic Ridge that is gradually splitting. And Iceland will probably split in half by the time this happens. Why? Because the Atlantic Plate is pushing the North American Plate to the south-southwest, pushing Greenland, pushing Canada and the United States to the south-southwest. And we have earthquakes to prove it. Over here in Norway and Sweden, we've had some 1.0s and 2.0 earthquakes. Now, while they're only tremors and minor earthquakes, 30 years ago we never had an earthquake here. And now we are. We're having earthquakes over here in Finland, earthquakes over here in Sweden and Norway, and even down here in Denmark. We've had 1 or 2 earthquakes over here in England. Unreal. Unreal. Over here, I want to detail earthquakes over here just northwest of the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. This is a 3.6 earthquake that was dropped off by the Cayman Ridge. See that earthquake fault that runs east and west here? It goes all the way over to Guatemala. That seismic ridge here brings earthquake from Central America all the way over here to the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, all the way down here to the Leeward Islands down here, and all the way over here to northern Venezuela, the Cayman Ridge. Today, down here in southwestern Puerto Rico, earthquakes continue to happen. One day last week, we had a day where no earthquakes at all hit here in southwestern Puerto Rico. That was a first. 4 years ago, December 26th and December 28th, 2019. We have an agency that was founded here in the United States. This agency right here. This agency right here, HARP. Oh crap, I said it. Please do not put this agency in the chat. Please don't. I should not have even said it because this venue here doesn't like us to talk about it. But that agency triangulated southwestern Puerto Rico, and on December 28th lit off an 8.0 earthquake. That agency has a location in Norway, Russia, and northwestern Australia. They lit off those facilities, those ultra high frequency waves penetrated the upper reaches of our atmosphere, bounced off, and came down here and caused an 8.0 earthquake in southwestern Puerto Rico, causing major damage. 8.0 major quake that day, December 26, 2019. 2 days later, they did it again. This time, it created an 8.4 magnitude earthquake, destroying a natural monument, a great big huge arch, a great big huge sandstone arch down here, and I'm going to show you the town. A great big huge sandstone arch right here on the coast was destroyed by the 8.4 earthquake that hit here that day, December 28th, destroying homes and businesses, roadways, the sandstone natural arch that was a tourist attraction. It was just as big as any arch in the Arches National Park in Utah. Destroyed because they could. They could. Ever since then, we've been getting aftershocks in this same area. Look at it. It's a line today. It's almost a straight line. This one, a 2.5 near La Porguera, Puerto Rico. South, This is a 2.0 near Guanica, Puerto Rico. Out here in the ocean, this is a 2.7 just off the coast of southwestern Puerto Rico. All three of those earthquakes are a result of those two 8.0 and 8.4 earthquakes that struck December 26th and December 28th, 2019. We've only had one day without any subsequent aftershocks. After 4 years, they're still hitting. Over here near the western shore of Puerto Rico, the central western shore of Puerto Rico, this is a 1.5 tremor. This is near, and I don't know if I'm even going to pronounce this right. I'm going to try. This is Homagueros, Puerto Rico. Homagueros, Puerto Rico. Homigueros. Homagueros, Puerto Rico. And I'm trying my best in my Spanish, my broken Spanish. Okay? That's what hit over here. Over here on the southeast side of the Dominican Republic, just off the coast this is in the water between Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. It's called the Mona Strait. The Mona Strait. This body of water is hard to sail through because it's so active. It bounces buoys and boats around like they were toys. This is a 3.7 earthquake, 81 miles deep, down in the asthenosphere. Okay, a 3.7 here in the Mona Strait. Now we're not seeing any other earthquakes here, fortunately. But do you want to know another sad fact? There are fires all over the Dominican Republic today. Eastern Haiti and the Dominican Republic today. We'll be talking more about that tomorrow. You notice they're not showing hardly anything here in South America. Oh, we just got us another earthquake. This is a 4.2 near Pelora, Ecuador. 67 miles east-southeast of Pelora, Ecuador. A 4.2 earthquake, 101 miles deep, also down in the asthenosphere. But they're not showing us any earthquakes in Central America or Mexico. Go figure. What else is new? Over here, Ojai, California. Ojai, California. I want to show you this. They're not showing all of the aftershocks yet. This earthquake here in red, I turned it blue. This is just a sampling of the earthquake aftershocks that have happened since that 5.5 hit here yesterday. This is a 3.5 here, 9.6 miles deep. The average depth is somewhere between 2 and 10 miles deep. Each of these aftershocks, anywhere from 2 to 10 miles deep. Some we have 1.5, 1.2 miles deep. Okay? All of these earthquakes are still hitting in this area. I have a feeling this earthquake may have been larger than we've even told you. Okay? I'm just saying. Okay? You see earthquakes over here on the outside of Los Angeles. There's a lot more in Los Angeles as well. Okay? Over here, East San Diego County, Julian, California. Pie time. It's pie time. This is a 1.1 tremor in Julian, California. Terry Rimple, good to see you, my brother. Terry Rimple's back here in the chat. He says he peeks in now and again. Much love. Hi, Heather. Much love to all. Terry Rimple, much love to you too. And thank you for being here with us. We appreciate it. Down here, just south of the Salton Sea, guys, they're showing us one earthquake. Well, golly gee. This is a 1.4 near Calipatria. There's probably 125 earthquakes here in today. Today, they show us one. They show us one. Tomorrow we're going to show you even more. Okay? There's minor earthquake faults all over the desert there in Imperial Valley. Minor earthquake faults radiating off the San Andreas Fault. It's no small wonder we don't have more earthquakes than we do. And we do. Down here in the Imperial Valley, folks, every day there's probably 500 earthquakes that hit. And I'm talking anywhere from just microquakes to tremors to full-blown earthquakes. 2.2s, 3.0s, even up to 5s every day down here in the Imperial Valley. But they'll never tell us that. They'll never tell us that. Yes, Terry Rimple has his own channel here on YouTube. Thank you for being here with us, Terry. We appreciate you. Love you, brother. Over here, again, Ojai, California, a 3.5. Going north, this is Ridgemark, California, southeast of Monterey Bay, a 1.2 tremor, and just east of there in Tres Pinos is a 0.8. Down here on the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault. Of course, they're not going to show anything in San Francisco, but there are earthquakes all over San Francisco area. Terry Rimple says, all good, Ron. Good to see you. Keep on moving forward. We are. We always will. You too. Over here in Yountville, California, north of San Francisco Bay, 1.9. Then, of course, the geothermal area down here in the geysers area, Sonoma, California, Sonoma County, California, we have all these earthquakes here. Why? We explain this a lot every week. This here is a 1.0 tremor that just hit here. This whole area is a geothermal area. Man has drilled into this volcano here. This lake is actually the Clear Lake volcano. Man has drilled into the upper magma chambers of this volcano to pull steam to power these great big huge turbines down here. There's 80 turbines down here, by the way. They pull the steam out of there to power turbines to generate electricity here for Pacific Gas and Electric, Rocky Mountain Power, and 2 or 3 other energy conglomerates. Unreal. Sonoma County, California. We usually see a lot of fires in this area. So far, I don't have any reports out of Sonoma County yet. I wish that that number would stay that way too. They get out of hand up there and they just go crazy. A lot of people lose their lives every year. Buildings and homes are destroyed. It's really bad. Redway Valley. This is a 1.3 tremor here. We follow the San Andreas Fault here. It goes along the coast all the way down here to San Francisco. Out here it goes off the coast again and back into California. Up here north of the San Andreas, This is Ferndale, California. This is a 2.3 earthquake, and it's very shallow, 11 miles deep. It's in the crust. This is an aftershock of the 8.0 earthquake that hit off of Ferndale, California months ago. Yes, an 8.0 that they tried to pass off was a 6.8. This is an aftershock of that 8.0 that hit there months ago. A 2.3 earthquake here, Ferndale. North of there, we're showing this earthquake here, Willow Creek, California. This was a 2.3. Okay? Right here down south, we're not showing a lot of earthquake activity down here off the coast. Just this here down in Ferndale, California. Up here, straddling the Cascadia subduction zone off the coast of Barview, Oregon. Off the coast of Barview, Oregon, we have a 2.9 3.0 earthquake. Okay? The Cascadia area is alive and well. Okay? The Cascadia earthquake zone is alive and well. Okay? They don't show any more earthquakes even at the volcanoes here in Oregon and Washington. There are plenty of earthquakes there. We go east here, Stanley, Idaho. Stanley, Idaho is on the western side of the Yellowstone magma chamber, but Stanley, Idaho also has a lot of earthquake faults, and it appears that this earthquake here is on one of those faults here. This is a 2.1 here, 2.6 miles deep. The one north of there, 2.5 earthquake there. 2.5 earthquake there. Over here near Yellowstone, western Montana, a 2.1. A 2.1. How about that? And now, wouldn't you know, they do this every night. I don't know why they do it, but they do it every night. They take this map down, make it unusable, and I've now figured out over the last few months since they've been doing it, how to bring it back without any problem. Okay? So let's do that because I have a couple more things here to show you, and then we're going to talk about Maui and what's happening in Maui and what has been happening in Maui, Hawaii. Okay? Let's go back up here to Yellowstone. Okay? Right up here. The small one here is a 0.5 microquake along the Idaho-Montana border. Okay? This is just one of 3 calderas here. One of 3 volcanic calderas here in the Idaho-Montana area. This one here is a 1.6 in Wyoming. Okay? Just northwest of Yellowstone. This lake here is Yellowstone Lake. Yellowstone Lake. Over here, this, folks, is the Mammoth Geyser Basin. The Mammoth Geyser Basin north of Yellowstone. North of Yellowstone. All around this area, around Yellowstone Lake, we have all kinds of geysers going off. All kinds of geysers going off. Okay, why? Norris Geyser Basin. Norris Geyser Basin. Where is Old Faithful? The Norris Geyser Basin. Okay? But of course, they're not going to show us any earthquakes here, right? One day I'm going to show you all the earthquakes. I'm going to show you the map that the Utah State Seismological University system gives us. It's going to show you a lot of earthquakes happening there that this agency refuses to talk about. Now, I want to go over to Maui. I want to play this report for you, and then I'm going to play another report. This is only a few minutes long, but this is just going to get into what I want to talk to you tonight about what's going on in Maui. It's bad.
Many questions remain about the devastating fires that swept through West Maui nearly 2 weeks ago. KITV4's Jeremy Lee has just returned from Maui. He has been reviewing archive footage, which shows county officials may have had outdated information as the crisis unfolded.
When did they know, and what time did county leaders realize they were no longer dealing with a brush fire, but an urban inferno, threatening every living thing in Lahaina town? A KITV4 live interview conducted at 6 p.m. with Mayor Bisson on Tuesday, August 8th, when Lahaina town was already burning and some evacuees had already fled to the ocean, reveals how behind the county was with receiving vital information from West Maui.
But when was the afternoon of the second evacuation order?
I don't know what time that was.
Well, thank you all for your time.
That was Friday at a day 11 media availability. But a week and a half earlier, on the day of the fire, KITV4 asked Maui Mayor Richard Bisson in a live 6 p.m. newscast if there were any evacuations to Lahaina area shelters.
Any word on how many people are currently using the shelters at this time?
Because of the structures that are being impacted, those numbers have increased. I can't tell you the exact number right now.
The county Facebook page and release did not post an evacuation order as it did previously for Kula at 3:50 p.m., but simply noted of the bypass area of Lahaina Luna that evacuations are occurring.
I'm happy to report that the road is open to and from Lahaina, Hokiokio Road.
The mayor appears unaware here at 6:03 p.m. that Front Street has already been burning, and that nearly 2 hours earlier Lahaina town was shrouded in smoke, as seen here at 1010 Front Street on the north side of town.
4 o'clock in the afternoon here.
A half hour before the mayor's interview, evacuees had already fled into the water at 5:33 p.m. when this video was shot.
Smoke starting to come, which means the fire's starting to die.
And this video from the highway to the south of Lahaina shows the town up in smoke at 5:34 p.m.
But again, we had some challenges earlier today trying to get people in and out of Lahaina. That road opened at about 5 p.m.
Which would mean due to down power lines, Hokiokio Place was shut down before 5 while the fire was spreading, hindering southbound evacuees from accessing the main road leading uphill from town to the southbound bypass. The mayor at 6:03 p.m. makes no mention that the fire had moved past the Lahaina bypass, over Honoapilani Highway, through town, or reached Front Street.
So we have reports of structures, older buildings that have been burned in Lahaina. Our update is actually going to come in at about 7 p.m.
But 7 p.m. would be hours after the first images of Lahaina burning. Coming up on 2 weeks, those in West Maui continue to ask, at what point were those manning the county's response system in Wailuku even aware that an urban inferno had already swept through the beloved town of Lahaina? Now, regarding that 3:30 flare-up, a county Facebook post does call for evacuations at 3:50, but in upcountry Kula, there is no mention of Lahaina. Only later at night does a Facebook post use the language, multiple evacuation orders are in place, but that information is first released with a timestamp of 9:45 p.m. at night. Jeremy Lee, KITV4 Island.
That was a release by KITV today. I got that information before we went on the air. Now, the next video I'm going to show you comes from a private individual. The individual's name his name on YouTube is Hustle Bitch. I hate to even say the name because I don't like it. But he has a great story to tell about what is actually happening over here on Maui. This is Maui, guys. Deborah G's asking where. It's Maui. Terry Rempel says insurance are trying to buy up property. And Terry, you're right. They are the political people are denying it, but Terry, you're right. You're right. Terry says the chief of police in Lahaina was the same as the false flag in Las Vegas shooting. You're right. I talked about the other day. The police chief is the same person who was at the time a lieutenant for Las Vegas police, and now he's a police chief in Maui. Go figure. Okay? This is unreal, guys. Yeah, no one is arrested. Renee Steffi says, I'm hearing they aren't letting supplies get into the area. That's also correct. They're stopping from getting the supplies in. The next report you're not going to like at all. Okay? Nadine Susie is saying, this makes me so angry and sad at the same time. You are about to get information now that'll make you very angry. Okay? That's one reason why I want to put it out. Okay? In the chat, Terry said, Maui officials all left town 2 days before the fire. Again, Terry's right. Water was shut off. The electricity shut-off caused the pumps to fail, and there was no water. Children were sent home while parents were at work. We're about to see a huge death toll of children. As of yesterday, we had a death toll of 116 people died. Bodies found. There's probably over 1,000 people that will have passed away as a result of this fire. Okay? The best siren systems in the world were not used. I'm going to show you why in just a minute. Okay? Deborah G said a few minutes ago in chat, it's big, like an unzipping, all over too. Much is happening all at once, and it's hard to keep up with. Don Patoka here says the perfect storm. And Don is absolutely right. This was indeed the perfect storm. Let me play this next video for you here. This is important. You may even want to take notes. This video information may anger you, but it's true, and I want you to understand why.
Evicted? The Maui massacre just got even worse. You will not believe today's video. We'll be looking in depth as to the deliberate lack of response by government officials in Maui and even President Joe Biden's insulting offer to Hawaiians. We'll also be discussing how those in Maui with homes still standing, they're actually being evicted. Now we're going to talk about so much more. Make sure you do not skip forward on this video. Watch the entire thing, as I promise, you're going to see things that mainstream media absolutely does not want you to see. Let's begin.
Do you regret not sounding the sirens?
I do not. And the reason why...
So many people said they could have been saved if they had time to escape. Had a siren gone off, they would have known that there was a crisis emerging. And as we know, so many bodies were found in the ground as the flames caught their heels.
Give you the answer? The sirens, as I mentioned earlier, is used primarily for tsunamis. And that's the reason why many of them are found, almost all of them are found on the coastline. The public is trained to seek higher ground in the event that the siren is sounded. Had we sounded the siren that night, we're afraid that people would have gone Malka. And if that was the case, then they would have gone into the fire. By the way, I should also note that there are no sirens Malka, or on the mountainside, where the fire was spreading down. So even if we sounded the siren, it would not have saved those people on the mountainside.
Maui Emergency Management Agency Director Herman Andaya, who reportedly made the final decision against activating the emergency sirens in Lahaina, Maui, has resigned.
Okay, we reported on this this past week. We showed you some of this video last week, but all of this paints a huge picture.
Sirens were meant to alert residents of imminent tsunamis, wildfires, terrorist attacks, etc. Residents have concluded the use of the sirens would have saved countless lives, but Director Andaya said he had no regrets about refusing to activate the sirens.
For anyone having problems with their teeth and gum...
Hold on a second, guys.
Governor Josh Green has consistently defended the refusal to use sirens. Should the director be prosecuted in relation to the deaths of over 100 plus citizens of Lahaina? The devastating situation in Maui has proved once again that the U.S. government is incompetent and unreliable in a time of need. The emergency chief refused to sound the city's evacuation alarms in an emergency. The deputy director in charge of water refused to open waterways to help firefighters who begged for it. Now,
okay, let me stop right there too. Okay, the director, the emergency director, the emergency manager, and Andaya was the emergency manager. He said if he would have activated the sirens, the people would have ran into the fire, because the sirens are usually sounded. The word that you need to understand is the word usually. Activated for tsunamis. He believed that people would actually have run inland right directly into the fire if those sirens had been activated. Let's continue.
Check this video out, which completely proves that the man you just heard, Herman Andaya, who was giving excuses, well, he completely lied.
So in the state of Hawaii, we have a statewide alert and warning system, which we also call SAWS. That involves not only the siren warning system, but as well as IPAWS. IPAWS is the Integrated Public Alerts and Warning System provided by FEMA, and that has the emergency alert system, also known as EAS. It also has the wireless emergency alerts, which is known as WEA. We also use sirens for hurricanes, brush fires, flooding, lava, hazmat conditions, or even a terrorist event. We have over 400 sirens spread out through 4 counties. Our sirens have a rating of 121 decibels. We have to visit each siren minimal once a year for preventive maintenance. Our role in the state of Hawaii in emergency management, especially telecommunications, is to prevent loss of life and to minimize property damage.
There you have it, folks. The Hawaiian government's own website says that the sirens should be used for fires. Those sirens are supposed to be used for multiple types of disasters.
Colin Rugg tweeted, Maui Emergency Management Agency Chief Herman Andaya has resigned due to health reasons after he refused to place sirens to alert Maui residents of the fire. He should be dragged away in handcuffs and thrown in jail instead.
Okay, again, I want to tell you about the sirens. Most of those sirens also can carry voice messages. Most of those sirens that can sound siren messages can also sound voice messages to tell people to evacuate away from the mountains, even out towards the coastline and out along the highways. They could have given emergency messages, but they didn't.
At least 111 people are dead, and this clown doesn't regret not alerting them before they were burned alive.
Okay, like I said, yesterday there was 116 bodies that have been found.
Criminal. So now we've seen officials in Maui not only purposely not sounding the emergency sirens, but also purposely saying no to using the vast amounts of water available to put out the fires. What is happening here? Forgive me if I'm wrong here, But when there's an emergency taking place, shouldn't it be all hands on deck? Shouldn't officials do everything they possibly can, like sound the emergency alarms and use the water that's available to put out the fires? As we've discussed on previous videos this week, the other aspect to all of this is the land grab that's going on. Listen as a Maui resident discusses a meeting between the Hawaii governor and land developers.
Long term, we need to get our people back home. I just came from a meeting run by the governor. All these developers were talking about forget the permit process. We're going to build homes, not in Lahaina, and make these homes available. You know what the truth of that is? They were like fast track their development. And they're not fucking helping the people over here. There was not one conversation in this meeting about the people. Every conversation that was had, every developer that came up there and talked about what they could offer was about getting rid of the permits so that they can steal water from our streams, they can fucking fast track westernization development and forget about the culture and place. That's gonna be our hardest journey in this long road to recovery.
I am a primary care physician. I'm frustrated, and it is just not what I signed up for. I'm tired of our sick care model.
To add insult to injury, now those fortunate enough to still have homes left standing are now facing yet another obstacle: eviction.
Do not give up Maui. Do not let them take your land. They are giving eviction notices to people whose houses didn't burn down. That shouldn't be legal. The court took time to write an eviction notice. I knew there was evil in this world, but Jesus Christ. The landlord had to go to the court, file a petition, and then managed to get that done in under a fucking week, and we can't get aid? Evict somebody?
FEMA also authorized one-time payments of $700 per household to folks who've been displaced, so they can do the immediate things of just taking care of medications and prescriptions that they so badly need.
President Biden sent an embarrassing and insulting $700 to Maui fire victims, and that's per household, while requesting an additional $40 billion of emergency funding to Ukraine.
So you're in an informational black hole. I don't know that Joe Biden's message has even reached the people of West Maui. But I will say this. I saw that $700 is going to be sent to the families of Lahaina. Now, I just did some quick math, Pete. There's about 13,000 residents of Lahaina. Times $700, that's $1.9 million. I think this week we announced another $40 billion for Ukraine. I'm not sure where we are at this point, Pete, but I believe it's something like $140 billion total for Ukraine. And last I checked, this is the United States of America, as is East Palestine, Ohio. So I don't know why it's so hard, comparatively, to rally for America and so easy, comparatively, to support Ukraine.
Yeah, the forgotten men and women on an island, forgotten today by the administration, distracted by so many other things.
$700 in Hawaii, the most expensive state in America, is equivalent to about $350 in the rest of the states. Again, this is per household, not per survivor. As a thank you, there is a nice warm welcome awaiting Joe Biden in Hawaii on the road to Lahaina. Over 1 week has passed, and still zero aid is getting to Americans who are suffering in Maui. Maybe that aid was given to Ukraine.
These are people who stood up in the midst of this tragedy and did everything they could to help each other. The sad part is we are 8 days past this wildfire, and I'm in constant touch with these community members and leaders. They are still not seeing response from the county, the state, the federal government to be able to go out and help them. The community support hubs that they have are 100% community-led.
So, who owns Maui? After the state of Hawaii, who owns over 154,000 acres on Maui, Alexander and Baldwin is the second largest landowner at over 65,000 acres, and the U.S. government is the third largest landowner at over 33,000 acres. Okay, so let's take a look at the investors behind Alexander and Baldwin: BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street.
Look at that. We've talked about BlackRock on this channel before. BlackRock, 13,619,778 shares on Maui. Vanguard, 11,851,000. State Street, over 4 million. 4 million. These three companies are affiliated with the Corporation of the United States. These three corporations are funding Biden and the Communist administration.
Interesting, don't you think? What's also interesting is just how intense and unusual these fires seem to be lately. All right, we've made it this far. Let's put on our tinfoil hats for a moment and check out this interesting press release from 2018 titled "Aluminum Dust from Geoengineering Fueling Super Wildfires," according to author. I know. Now stick with me as we read this together. While researching for his new novel, author Dennis Mills discovered an alarming link between chemtrails and the super wildfires. The author discovered that unprecedented levels of aluminum and barium nanodust, primary components in chemtrails, both of which are incendiary, are fueling the ferocity of the super wildfires. A retired USAF Brigadier General, General Charles Jones. You know what, let's hit the brakes. Let's stop for a second. Let's check out exactly how credible a USAF Brigadier General is. According to Wikipedia, a Brigadier General ranks above a colonel and below a Major General. Okay, let's continue. A retired U.S. Air Force Brigadier General, General Charles Jones, has been quoted from a public source as stating, "These white aircraft spray trails are the result of scientifically verifiable spraying of aluminum particles and other toxic heavy metals, polymers, and chemicals. Millions..."
What have we talked about, polymers and chemicals, recently on our air here? Okay, we've talked about these chemtrails. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. Why do you think this wildfire on Maui burned so heavily? Why do you think it moved so fast? Maui and a lot of other areas here in the United States have burned, and Canada, I should say, not just the United States, but Canada also. And why are these other fires all over the world burning like they are? Because the planes have been spewing these nanoparticles. Aluminum and barium are being sprayed almost daily across the United States. Mills is a former Navy officer and UCLA graduate.
Of tons of aluminum and barium are being sprayed almost daily across the U.S., stated Mills, a former naval officer and UCLA graduate. Pause once again. We have one legit U.S. Air Force general and one naval officer and UCLA graduate, both sharing facts on this. At this point, we can safely remove our tinfoil hats and check out the rest of this. Just sprinkle aluminum or barium dust on a fire and see what happens. It's nearly explosive. When wildfires break out, the aluminum barium dust results in levels of fire intensity so great as to cause firefighters to coin a new term, firenadoes, he said. The entire U.S., in addition to various other NATO countries, are being sprayed.
All right, say it plugs it in. Perfect. Isn't that interesting? How does this happen? Why are we allowing this to happen? Okay? Why?
Has for years denied the existence of chemtrail spraying. It now calls the program by various names, all under geoengineering. According to CAL Fire Operations Chief Steve Crawford, the fires are burning differently and more aggressively. It has been reported the fires move faster than anyone has ever seen, and barriers that in years past contained them, such as rivers, no longer do. In California's Mount Shasta region, Francis Mango, a USDA biologist, tested and found elevated levels of aluminum in water and soil samples of 4,610 parts per million, which is 25,000 times the safe guidelines of the World Health Organization. We are now seeing cities burning down nearly every week, and today it's massive fires in British Columbia, Canada. Evacuation orders are underway as the fire is progressing and getting worse and more intense. Over 160,000 people have been evacuated with a state of emergency declared yesterday.
It was a devastating night last night. Probably one of the toughest of my career, the toughest of all of our firefighters' careers, likely. One of the most challenging nights of firefighting in our history. We fought hard last night to protect our community. Somebody described it to me last night in the heat of the battle as it was like 100 years of firefighting all at once in one night. And I really think that it was true. We fought 100 years worth of fires. All in one night.
Switching gears now, in some positive news, Elon Musk is once again helping the people of Maui by providing them with solid, reliable power via Tesla power stations and also internet via Starlink.
Let me show you what community is, okay? I'm not talking about government, I'm talking about private citizens. This is Hawaiian Homes, this is Archie Kalepa's house. And let me show you another community private member, not part of the community, but certainly giving to the community. Starlink, everywhere. Tesla, batteries, running communications for this entire area of Lahaina. That is where everyone comes. I just want to show you something, okay? So you know what you're giving to, what it's helped saving, okay? Just want to show you what you've become a part of as well, Elon. There's the line, right there. There's the line. That's how close it got to the community leader, Archie Kalepa's house, which is now the whole neighborhood powered by Starlink and Tesla. As they'd say, man, appreciate you.
Folks, there is so much unfolding every single day, and I'm here to bring you the information as quickly as possible. If you enjoyed the content in today's video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. As always, I truly appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I hope to see you on the next one.
Okay? We may have him on the air tomorrow night. I'm working on that right now. Been working on that most of the day. I wanted to play this important video because I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I've been working on this program that I just showed you today for about 3 days, pulling the same information, and I thought, you know something, he's already done it. So I sent him a note telling him that I was going to air most of his program on the air today, and that's what I just did. You have the latest. Marie says, do you have a link to that video? Yes, I do. It's down in the program description below this video today. Okay? That and the Maui KITV video that I showed you just before that. It's down there as well. KITV and KHN or KHON2 all have great information. And I will be giving you updated information on the body count. I also try to give you names as they come up with those people that are identified. A lot of the people that they have found, they cannot identify them as of yet. They have to go through medical doctors. They have to try to match DNA. They have to try to match dental records and all kinds of other information to positively identify these people, and then they have to notify the next of kin. It's a long, drawn-out process. But folks, this is fact. What we've shown you today is fact. It has a lot to do with what has happened on Maui. Those 3 corporations, as well as Oprah, Bill Gates, and that man in charge of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. They're all in this up to their ears, up over their ears. They're all in it. Okay? It's unreal. Now, folks, what I want you to do is share this message today with everybody that you know. Your family, your friends, your extended family, your neighbors, the people you work with, and the people you have as friends on social media. Share it high and share it low. This is absolutely necessary. We need to get the truth out so we might be able to try to stop some of this from happening again. And yes, I believe it is going to happen again. These fires in British Columbia and over on the east coast of Canada have been happening, and we have to stop it. The Canadian people are fed up. They want it stopped as well. They're having the same problem that we are having. They've been having this burn problem for months now that they have not been able to stop. Folks, I believe we have that possibility to help stop this. We have to help stop this government from screwing us all, from destroying our countries. That is important. That is very important. Folks, if you believe what we're talking about, please share this information. Before you leave tonight, you need to also please give us a thumbs up if this information was any good to you at all. If you enjoyed what we've told you, what we've shown you, please share it far and share it wide. We want to grow this channel as well. YouTube has been blackballing us. YouTube has also done to a point where they're taking people off our subscription list. If you're here on this channel and you found it today without being notified, go back and check your subscriptions. They're unsubscribing people right and left. Check your subscriptions. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I found over the years that YouTube has been suppressing this program. They've been unsubscribing people. Subscribe, folks. When you subscribe, you also need to click on that little bell icon. Now, it used to be a bigger circle with a bell in it. Now it's a very tiny circle with a bell in it. Click on that. And when you do, you'll see a drop-down menu of 3 items come up. Click on the word ALL, all, so you'll be notified when we come on the air. Please tell your friends and your neighbors to do the same thing. This channel is a channel for emergencies and disasters, and we show you that information on a daily basis. I will be back on the air tomorrow to talk about earthquakes, hopefully in Southern California and the Pacific Northwest. On Wednesday, we're going to have our special guest on here. Barry will be here talking about what's happening over in the Canadian Southwest. Okay? We're going to have Barry on, and we're probably also going to have Dave on, Canadian Patriot 2. So folks, we have a lot of things that are going to happen this week, and I appreciate you all being here. Lorraine Blomgren says, I just found my subscription off. I thank you for being here, Lorraine. Thank you for finding it. Thank you, and please resubscribe. Lorraine Blomgren, okay? We appreciate you here very much. We appreciate Terry Rempel coming in. We appreciate everybody that has been here for our program tonight. Now, I've gone a lot longer than I thought I would go. We're 114 minutes in. Before we get to 2 hours, I want to just share a brief scripture with you. This time, I'm going over to Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians, and we're going into chapter 5. This is verse 23. And the very God of peace sanctify you wholly. And I pray, God, your whole spirit and soul and body be preserved blameless unto the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. What a great message Paul had here when talking to the Thessalonians. And this applies to us everywhere. All of us here that are on the earth. And the very God of peace sanctify you wholly. And I pray, God, your whole spirit and soul and body be preserved blameless unto the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. I pray that for all of us. May we all be together and we be united in the goal of helping our fellow men. That's what this program, that's what Emergency Management Associates is all about. Making sure we help our fellow men preserve our lives. Preserve our lives. Please, folks, make sure you have preparedness kits, make sure you have a preparedness plan, and make sure you have water and food. Preparedness plan. What else? An emergency supply kit, water, and food. Get those things and you have a better chance of surviving all of this from happening. Now, guys, I love you all very much. I do. I always have and always will. May God be with you this day and always. God bless you. May God be with you until we meet again. Have a good night, folks. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back here on the air to tell you about it as soon as the events happen and the emergency information comes out. Until then, God be with you till we meet again. We will see you around the corner. Good night, everybody. Much love.